Welcome to Narratives Leadership Story Talks, where great leaders go beyond the bottom line to create lasting impact. Join hosts Jerome and Julienne Ryan as they uncover the stories behind real-world challenges, offering practical insights to help you lead with empathy, authenticity, and purpose. Each episode dives into how leaders use storytelling to build trust, foster connection, and inspire action. Whether you're navigating workplace dynamics, driving change, or building high-performing teams.
First thing, I love using stories as a way to articulate values, because if you've just got a list of words up on the board or on the wall with, maybe some sentences, like I've sat in rooms and tried to write those sentences, it's a nightmare. But if we can catch people doing the thing and say, look, this person here, they're doing that thing, right? Then everybody gets it. There's a more practical understanding of what it is that we're trying to transmit. And one of the things that helps leaders to let go of that control is if they can communicate their values effectively. What I say to them is, your values are you when you can't be in the room. You're empowering your team to make decisions. If they make decisions that are in accordance with these values, their assumption is that that's the decision that you were going to make. And so the values we're putting out there are really important to help people guide their decisions so that they aren't going off the reservation, so that they are maintaining the kind of quality and culture that is important to you. And that allows you then to be able to step back.
Welcome back, everybody, to Leadership Story Talks, another debrief, another day. Today we just heard from Brad Farris, who really was a great interview, actually, in terms of just the specificity of who he works with, leaders in kind of marketing creative agencies, and his background as an engineer as well. I remember that being a really engaging interview, so I encourage everyone to go and look for that one. But in terms of that quote that we pulled, first of all, it was difficult to find one quote, but that one really resonated with me because of his articulation of how values can show the way if stories are told about those values. I think way too often, and Brad agreed with this, you see the values on a wall, you see them on a website, maybe you hear about them, during your job interview. Maybe you hear about them a little bit during your onboarding, but pretty much after that, many organizations, too many organizations, in my opinion, kind of leave that on the wall, leave that in the drawer, and you're not really sure what this company stands for, but more importantly, as an employee, how you're supposed to behave. Because you're bringing your own values, and your values may not align completely with that organization. And so you're going to see things like, wait, that's permissible? What's going on here? And then, that's usually because those values are not really being translated into day-to-day practices. And the best way that I've seen to translate those into day-to-day practices and behaviors is by telling stories about these values. What challenges our values? What affirms our values? Let's put that into practice. This is I'm getting off my soapbox so that you can say a few things as well.
Well, first of all, I always have an expression that the best stories already exist in the room. It's our responsibility to help the clients excavate them and discover and appreciate them. So, because sometimes we discount them. We think a small example of what we witnessed employees doing is not that noteworthy. And sometimes those have the biggest treasures on the planet. Secondly, we can have all the posters on the planet. But if we, like you said, if people are not measuring up to what we're espousing, then you got another problem. But that's not our business. We're not in the employee relations part or, the accountability. But we have a good stepping stone when we start to show what matters and what was embraced and put into action on a daily basis at all levels of the company and organizations. And that's what becomes relatable in the story sharing. People, as we know, when we talk in story workshops, they want to see themselves in the story. So if you have just all senior executive stories, you're losing a whole huge part of the organization. And find the person who's up and coming, find the person who's in the support services, find your heroes on every level.
I love that. And the other thing I'll say is that just on an individual basis,
Mm,
if I've seen people sort of, where do I know I need to tell a story and I want to tell a story, but where do I
mhm,
begin to find where that story is going to come from? And I think that's where values can really be helpful, actually, because
mhm.
you yourself as an individual, we all have values that drive us, whether we're aware of them or not. So I think the first step is to become aware of what those values are that are driving you. And a lot of times you can find those values by just looking at significant experiences you've had in your life. What are the experiences that brought you joy at work, especially? What are the experiences that weren't so fun? Or where somebody said something or did something that didn't come off well for you. Look at those experiences because your values are integral to those. They've been formed by those experiences. And then once you've got your values, well, that's where you can start to find your stories, essentially. So I think it's really important to look at that for yourself as an individual, especially if you're going into a job interview or something like that, and you're looking at a new step in your career. Where do you want to go? Start with your values, and then look at the stories that really represent those values.
And I also want to introduce the concept that we are not saying these things jump to mind immediately. That's why you have coaches that we were working because my joke phrase for a lot of the talks, and Jerome and I have discussed this. I start off by saying, I've got nothing. In my mind's a complete blank because if you're giving that one specific word, sometimes our brain shuts down.
Yeah.
But do other things, start to take words down, pay attention to things you're ignoring. You're saying, oh, that's not a great story. Because usually, if it's coming to mind, there's a kernel of something in it. And work with somebody to help you pull it out and see what elements are there.
Mm.
And look at what you remember, what stands in your mind of really positive experiences.
Yeah.
Um, and like Jerome is saying, and then step by step, look at the methodology and how you can really bring elements of sensory details and some plot and excitement to what you're doing. And it comes together.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think that's great. That's great advice. And the other thing I'll just add to that is in terms of reaching out for support. One of the things that I think there's a reason that we look for starting points and we look for people to sort of affirm or challenge what it is that we're doing because that's what's going to tell us if it's going to work or not. So your story is never going to be told in a void. It's for an audience, and that's what it's meant to be. So we focus a lot on the audience and that connection between you and your audience. And one of the ways that we can get people to move forward is with some kind of starting point. And the values are usually a really good starting point. But if you look across the board of entertainment, for example, how you choose what you're going to want to watch this weekend or what book you're going to want to read is probably going to be according to some kind of theme that you have in your mind, something that you feel in the mood for. I feel in the mood for a comedy, for action.
Hmm.
There's always something attached. We never do anything in a void, right? And so, or it doesn't sort of pop into our head like, oh yeah, this is the movie I'm going to watch. No, we've read about something. That's why we want to watch it, or we want to read it. But there's a theme attached to it, and I'm really excited about the fact that we now have events that we're putting together where we bring storytellers in. But again, we're not asking them to tell a story about just anything. There's a theme. There's going to be a theme every time we do
You'll
these
have a work
things.
assignment.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and you kind of need that, right? It's sort of
Hmm.
that's how we learn. That's how we're able to create things is actually with a few constraints, rather than the big blank page, which is just nerve wracking. So I think that's one of the things that people can expect when they work with us is that we'll
Hmm.
give you themes, we'll give you prompts, we'll give you things to get
Guardrails.
yourself going, to warm up, and practice, as opposed to tell me a story and I'm going to critique it right now. That can be very daunting, and so I think reassuring people around that is important. So yeah, find ways for yourself to do that, to kind of warm yourself up, to practice, choose a prompt, choose a theme, choose a value, something to get you going, and then start telling those stories to people and see what the feedback and reflections are.
So when you're listening to this episode, keep whether you type into your phone or you write notes if you're somebody who likes to have a little notepad or something with you, because things might not come to you in the moment here. But it's the 3 o'clock in the morning moment, which I'm really good at. And when you're driving, when you're cooking, get those words down. Don't judge them. Don't edit and censor. Big phrase of mine. Just write them down and then revisit them. Because chances are there's some treasures in there that you haven't been paying attention to.
Great. All right, people. Well, look for those treasures. That's the message. Well, thanks so much, Julienne, once again, for doing this. And thank you, listeners, for being here with us. As always, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. That's how you'll be able to get every episode into your feed and not miss a single one. And of course, if you want more resources, if you have more questions, please don't hesitate to get in touch with us. Go to narrative.com, NARATIV.com, and use the handy contact form that's there. You can also subscribe to our mailing list, so you make sure to get lots of information and resources from us. Always happy to hear from you. Please don't hesitate to get in touch. Thanks so much, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
For more information on the narrative listening and storytelling method and how it can help your business, go to narrative.com.